let me hop onto my YouTube, view your channel. There we are. I'm gonna watch that later. I'm gonna open that in a new tab. Stop saying you'll live in heaven forever. That's kind of exactly what the scriptures say, but we'll get to that. Anyways, let us is this UH1? Which one? Yep, this is it. We're gonna go with the external hard points and we're gonna add weight. I'm gonna start with this for now because it's already kind of on the edge just in this configuration. I think getting it into a hover for a little bit is possible with this loadout, but it's just so heavy with all the extra people, guns, and rockets on it that it doesn't want to fly. It would be a no-go day. Look at our weight, right? That's already too much on a good day, and we're basically at the edge. We push the temperature as high as it'll go, the pressure as low as it'll go. We have a pretty strong headwind, and yeah, things are just working against us. That's the point. No, we're not going to save it just yet. Point is customization. I want to be able to hop in with the UH1, set up kind of however I need it, want it. We also have a Me-24 that we could opt to fly if we want. And the Me-24 seems to eat density altitude for breakfast until I just can't chew anymore. Let me recenter my shit. Yep. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, it's just the guns and stuff. We're gonna try it like this. And we can also, we have a governor switch here. Now we can use to set the RPM. We can drop that RPM down and give ourselves a little bit of a handicap too. So in circumstances generally with a helicopter like this, where you're at high density altitude, what you're gonna do is crank up the rotor RPM. And that gives you a little bit more rotor energy at the expense of like 3 to 5% reduction in the life of the rotor components. So you are trading the extra wear as a result of higher forces for more lift in the moment when you need it. Alright, we're gonna try to pick it up and see how it goes. I think I got it flying with the heaviest loadout we can do. It should be possible with this. Gotta slide on the skids. Where's our windsock? Oh, yeah, there we go. That's our headwind right there. We know because we gotta come back a little bit. Yep. See the windsock right there, that's us. So hover's possible, we'll see. I mean, it's starting to droop the rotor there. It's still within an acceptable range, but let's try to get it out of ground effect, see how that handles. Yeah, it doesn't want to get out of ground effect. Yep, see, we're at the top of ground effect, and it don't want to. So we're in ground effect. Technically, this is flyable. You can't do a high performance takeoff like this unless we shed some weight. So we could shoot all our rockets, empty our guns, and that would work. Burn a lot of fuel, that would work, because we're full on fuel too. We're actually kind of like overloaded on fuel. It's rare that you fly a helicopter when it's full of fuel. That's usually not something you do. If you're doing cross country, maybe, but your weight considerations usually are a big deal. Because fuel adds weight. Anyways, I'll show you the sort of takeoff you can do in this. And as well... Right, but I can also crank it down the other way. Sufficiently to actually bring us below the green arc. With minimal collective, but I'm gonna set it to the top to give us as much, oh yeah, look at the torque there. The torque difference. Yeah, I'm a lot lighter on the pedals now. For some reason. Usually I'm out here on the pedals in a hover. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll do a dive away takeoff. So we're gonna trade a little bit of that. Goodness gracious. Yeah, look at that. I'm trying to pick it up now. I think the density altitude is caught up with us. Look at that. Our low RPM warning was about to come in. Right, so we can get into this. I'm going to accept it going into our low RPM warning. I'm going to do a dive away takeoff. So you see how that worked? I lifted us up, accepted a little bit of rotor droop, because we have a heavy ass rotor with a lot of inertia to it. It's a big, it wants to keep going even when it's loaded. We're trading some of that energy, pouring some of that energy bucket into our airspeed bucket. And we're using gravity to help us out. So actually we're using all three of our so-called energy buckets in that circumstance. Our rotor energy is being traded for altitude. Then we're trading our altitude for immediate airspeed using gravity to help us. And because we're using gravity, we unload the rotor. So you saw my collective come down. I'm going to fly over this time. But we're about to come in and try to do a slope landing on here. The point is, that pad is hard to get to over the trees with the wind direction that we have. That's the point. The point is, it forces you to shoot that approach carefully. So if I come in too fast, we won't be able to stop in time. We might settle with power. If I come in too steep, we'll settle with power. Now the thing about the Huey is, it's kind of forgiving to settling with power. But the moment you get it into vortex ring state, it's over. Especially that low to the ground. So we're more or less coming in perfect on our approach here. Oh yeah. And then that power comes up pretty quick. Now you get out of ETL and the power's gone. Now you're in inefficient airflow. It actually costs more fuel to keep a helicopter in a hover than it does to fly it forward. Think about that for a minute. It costs more for a helicopter to sit still than to keep moving. Alright, we'll do another. We're going to let our rotor speed come up. This, by real world standards, would be a no-fly day. You just do not have the margins. If there's no margins, there's no mission. That's how the saying goes. Boy, Jesus Christ. Let's not destroy our stinger or our tail rotor, please. Or our tail boom, for that matter. That'd be even worse. Don't forget, we got a pretty serious headwind going on, too. So I gotta be more forward on the cyclic. That's muscle memory overcoming the good practice. I was rushing it, is what it was. So we're in a hover there. I'm going to take advantage of that energy for a second. Do another dive away. Right? You see, we get into ETL really quick. I'll try a short stop now. Or a quick stop. However it's called. We'll do this from a direction that isn't directly into the wind. But we'll weathercock it at the end. So 40 is good. And so we're going to come in like this, and I'm going to weathercock it to the right. Kind of a pyro stop. And ride the energy carefully down. Stay above 500 feet a minute descent rate. Yeah. That was a pretty good short stop. Let me see if there's anybody on my chat. I forgot to open my phone up to this stream. I'm gonna do that now. Come on, load, baby. There we go. Bear with me, I don't see any chats yet. Yep, no chats. Alright, it's late anyways. That said, I do have international viewers. I'll just do another pick up and take off. Might be able to creep it. Yeah, let's creep it. There's ETL. Unload the rotor some. If you have the space for it, a creeping takeoff is usually the way to go. But if you absolutely have to fly and you don't really have the margin to hover like that, so think about it this way. The dive away takeoff is initially more energy intensive, but you immediately unload the rotor once you're at that altitude. Not totally, but you do reduce the load, and building airspeed happens quicker and under less rotor load than it does in a general creeping takeoff. But the creeping takeoff it's standard, right? Dive aways, they do those in the military a lot. But creeping takeoffs is what most pilots learn to do. It's generally the safest takeoff. Where you would do a dive away is circumstances like this, and when you have really restricted environments. So I'm gonna let me see what's the fuel that we've burnt now. If we have the margin to do a high performance or max performance takeoff. Because that, in some circumstances, that's really critical. So I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to try to just pick it up straight. And just keep climbing. Honestly, I think after we've burned that little bit of fuel, we've got it. But it's not going to like doing it after about here. Yeah, I hear the rotor starting to droop. So nice and slow. Use disc tilt to our advantage with the headwind. You don't want to pull it to the armpit. You'll droop it and lose lift that way. But yeah, we can sort of... I'm not happy with this. The aircraft isn't enjoying this. But a little max performance takeoff is absolutely possible. Yeah, our VSI is starting to go down-ish. There we go. There we go. Oh, that's ETL working. Alright. There you have it. I'm gonna try. We're probably gonna crash it, but that's what sims are for. I'm gonna go over here, and I have a confined area landing pad set up surrounded by a bunch of towers. It's kind of gusty. We're getting tossed around. Catch a hold of that wind side. Yep, we're coming in right. Wind direction hasn't really shifted. It's not really going to. But confined space. How we do these? Oh shit, that is too much descent rate. I want to be very careful about our descent rate. I'm watching that VSI like a hawk, especially now that we're no longer in ETL. We're in a hover out of ground effect. I gotta really watch my descent rate, because vortex ring state is what we're at risk of in this circumstance, right? If I let that get ahead of me like that, it's bad news. But we're gonna try to keep that pad more or less in our bubble. Come down slowly to it. 500's kind of steep, but I'm gonna accept that for now. And we're in ground effect now. We're safe. That outflow really balloons out, skirts out, and becomes less likely to recirculate. It recirculates with less energy. So the vortex ring effect is much less. I'm going to see what are our margins like now for our performance. We just have to clear the top of the towers, and then we can move forward. But if not, I might try something resembling a dive away at a higher altitude here. Alright, I feel like I'm coming up on the collective, and it's drooping. Yeah, that's our margins right there. I mean, no, actually, if we're careful, we might have it. Especially if I try to use a little bit of forward airspeed to our advantage. I gotta be careful though, we're not doing too well on space here. Yeah, this would definitely be a no-fly day. If this were real life. Like, these margins are unacceptable. We'd have to lose a person, lose weapons, lose ammo, lose fuel, or lose gear. Those are our only options. That or just don't fucking fly. But the temperature's working against us. The density, altitude, so like the air pressure's working against us. Everything is working against us. And we're loaded. Right? So I'm going to try this. Pull a little bit more. Use inertia to our advantage. Accept a little bit of a low margin there. There we go. But ladies and gentlemen, that is our max performance takeoff. With the absolute worst conditions possible. I won't say absolute. We could have loaded this thing up just a little bit heavier, but we're already pushing it. Do another dive away. We'll pretend, right? We have to clear. We have to get into ETL before we make it to the taxiway. We'll put it that way. Oh, there's our power coming down. All right, let me set it down and spool up for a second. Alright, let's do a hop and a dive away. We have to get moving before the taxiway. I'm keeping the collective up. Fuck that. Alright, that's our dive away right there. We did it. Not a very pretty one, but it worked. With airspeed, though, you're golden. In fact, helicopters in Russia, Mi-8 will frequently fly loaded more than they can hover with in ground effect. Because they'll take off like planes. I'll show you that in a Mi-24 in just a little bit. Because the Mi-24 has got the landing gear and the wheels especially. It's having wheels that lets you roll around like an airplane. But when you've got skids, you know, the dynamics change a little bit. Yep, caught it just in time. Good shit. It's yeah, let me put us into the Mi-24 and I'll show you that takeoff. So this is a running takeoff. And I'll demonstrate a running landing too. The Mi-28 does a really good job at this. Oh, sorry, the Mi-24. The Mi-28 is the more modernized Mi-24. But this thing, the little crooked helicopter, the Hind, one of my favorite helicopters. I don't know, something about it. It's crooked, it's a little asymmetric. Right, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Look at the features, right? So let me go ahead and I'll close the door because that closes both. Look, it's not symmetrical. It's a cockeyed helicopter, bruh. Beautiful engineering. And that stuff's hard to do. That stuff, like, it is easy to design things that are symmetric, because then you only have to do work on one side and just mirror it. But everything about the helicopter is a little bit asymmetrical, and that gives it benefits because it's a helicopter. Anyways, without nerding out too much, let me get this thing started.
Отказала основная гидросистема. Отказал насос расходного бака. Отказал генератор.
There we go. It's the 2 Doppler. Don't.
Отказал насос расходного бака.
No? There we go. I'll see if you starting. Is that fan on? Yes, it is. Because it's finna get hot in here without a little bit of airflow. No air conditioning. Think about it this way. Air conditioning adds weight. Weight comes at a penalty for a vehicle like this, for obvious reasons. Ooh. What's nasty about this whole circumstance is we have to take off across the wind. Oh, fun. That, you know, doesn't do anything. Oh, you got a fire extinguisher right there. Just reach over your right shoulder. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe it's not a fire extinguisher. Feels like it, but no, that's a fire extinguisher all the way. Did our engine start? What's wrong? Something's wrong.
Отказал насос расходного бака.
There we go. There we go. And there we go. We good. We good. Yep, I hear the APU running. That's our engines. There we fucking go. Let's go. Get our throttles down. Can bring this stuff out here. Actually, let's set up our sight. Let's have burst. Might do a little shooting today too. We'll see. APU's on, so let's use the generator off of that. Not yet, we don't have both engines started. I believe, if we're not mistaken, we can actually taxi while we're starting up. Nope. Alright, flip the switch. Let's drop the other one. Oh, we got a bit of a... Is that ground resonance starting to develop? That could really bite us in the ass if we're not careful. Ground resonance on these multi-blade helicopters can quickly spiral out of control, and then the helicopter's just gonna wiggle itself to death here on the ground. The only solution to that is really to unload the rotor or pick it up. And the best solution usually is to pick it up. Gotcha. There's our engines in the green arc. Throttles full. Starter generator set to generator. Auxiliary power systems off. APU power system off. Let's gauge our gyros. Let's set our autopilot. This machine does fly just a little bit better with the autopilot on. And I believe we are set. Oh my goodness, the parking brake did work. I believe. Alright, anyways. Спасибо. yeah, we're gonna be taking off across the wind. I might think about this. No, fuck it. Let me not think about it. Let me just enjoy the consequences and do things the hard way. So, suppose that we were just so heavy that we could not take off in a hover, right? The Mi-24 can hover. Even in relatively high density altitude, it's very powerful. It's a very powerful helicopter. So I'll demonstrate, right? Get the wheel brakes on. It makes this process a little bit easier. It is squirrely to pick up, though, I will say that. Autopilot does nothing for you in a hover. Right, so it's got the energy, it's got the power, and this right here is enough power. I could leave it, slip forward, and we'd be flying. But we're gonna pretend we can't do that. When I'm landing this helicopter, I like to have it slip forward a little, because we don't have a bubble. So seeing where you're going helps you know where you're landing. But I'm gonna take off this way. Suppose we did not have the power to take off in a hover. The way you do it now, if you absolutely have to fly, loaded full of weight, full of fuel, full of cargo, full of people, is like this. Kind of got a box with it, just a little bit like you're flying a tail dragger. It's not quite as severe, but it's a very similar feeling. It does not want to stay in the orientation it's in. And then you slowly pick up the power, and you fly away like it's a plane. Oh, Jesus. Yep. The moment we got light on the skids, or light on the wheels, the dynamics changed a little bit. And keep building that airspeed. Oh, Jesus, right? That's indicative right there. That's our generator going down because we don't have the rotor speed we need. So, even this helicopter is kind of showing that it is power limited in this circumstance. But yeah, that's basically how you would take off. Kind of like a plane. Oh my god, we really are power limited. But what doesn't help is we're taking off. Yeah, we're about dead. What the fuck? We survived that? Why would you put that at the end of a runway anyways? So how much damage are we in? First and foremost. So we're taking off. The wind is not helping us right now. How severe is the damage? Yeah, it'll buff out. Add a fresh coat of paint, we'll be fine. It's a hardy helicopter, man. It can withstand a lot of abuse. I was about to say, this is the gunner's seat. Stranger, I don't know much about that. I don't mess with that. I fly now. Alright, so we're 50% collective, and we're not even in a hover. Close. It's light. It wants to flip over if I give it a chance to, but here. Right, I'm going to slow it back down without killing our tail. And without flipping over. That right-hand wind is really stronger than it lets off as. But, right, that's our power right now. We can't even hover. If I come up some, sure. But we're not dealing with that. We're going to pretend it's right here, and we're going to take it off like that. No, my God. This helicopter really... I love it, but it is squirrely. It reminds me a lot of flying a... so that we're going to... That's 50%. There's a detent there. I'm just going to use that as a reference. You take off starting with the collective down some. That helps with stability and everything, obviously. But as you build that ground speed, technically, because we're not in the air yet. As the needle starts to move, you start adding collective. Keep it stable. And there's this kind of inversion that happens. Because we're on the left pedal to keep it straight now. But once air dominates, you switch to the right pedal. So, oh, not so much. Which is going to take practice for sure. But there we are, light and taking off. At a power setting. That's 50%. That we couldn't even hover in previously. Alright, we're not doing too hot on our speed right now. Let me bring it back down. Bounce it, I suppose. I'm trying here, folks. Bear with me. There we go. That's the attitude we want. Slowly building altitude. Slowly building. Yeah. Maybe not. Oh no! There we go. There we go. It's the airspeed I want to build. All right, we're getting there. There we are. Especially as we turn to the right. I want to avoid these trees though. Stay low. So pretend that this is the top of our power. This is the most we can do without drooping the rotor. That's how you would take it off. If you can't even hover standing still, you have to fly it. They do this all the time in Mi-28s. It's really that airspeed I really need more than anything right now. Airspeed's going to help us the most. And it feels like we're just not getting it. Let me unload the tail rotor. I'm just going to stay off of it. See. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that made a world of a difference. Building airspeed now. Actually building airspeed. Ish. It's not... This would be a no-fly day all the way. I would just refuse to get in the ship. So, dude, the atmospheric conditions are just not favorable at all. They're working against us here. It's hot, the pressure's low, and we're flying heavy. But the point is, right now we're flying. All right, we've made it over the trees. We're keeping our airspeed. That's critical because when we're in that transition phase where getting airspeed comes at a premium of altitude when we have no altitude to spend. That's the hard part. You got to build that momentum. That's really the critical thing. But that's our airspeed working with us. Even though technically we're not at a power that we could even hover in right now. Airspeed helps. So planes, helicopters do fly a little bit like planes when they're flying forward. I'm gonna add some power though. I'm getting tired of this really low, really slow. Build airspeed. And then we'll come back to 50%. I'll get my gear up too for efficiency. That is something this helicopter likes to do. It kind of has a tight envelope, this one. The margins are tight. Man, the fog makes it damn near impossible to see where we're coming from. This is practically a fighter jet of a helicopter. Oh, that's death. Yeah, don't do that. Let's restart this. Yeah, it's already like almost midnight. I'm gonna go ahead and go to bed. I gotta get up early. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I appreciate it. I know it's only been like 2 of you. Joy, probably you still spying on me and shit. Probably not. Who knows? I don't necessarily understand. Like, I'm not omniscient. I don't pretend to be omniscient. But I still see your ghost. And I'm tired of it. I'm just gonna be frank. Like, do I want you in my life? Yeah. Could I stand not to have you in my life? Yeah. Like, either way, it's closure that I'm after. I don't want this shit to drag out anymore. Shit's annoying. Like, dude, pull up your pants and be a big girl is what I'm trying to say. Fucking reach out and contact and at least, like, touch base. Be a friend. See you later. Love you. God loves you. Jesus loves you. Spend time with them legitimately, not as a ritual, not as a practice, not as something you study.